Well, hello, Berlin, and welcome to this week's episode of Making Sense of Social Media Marketing Mindset, the podcast. It is so great to have you here. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to those watching and listening today?
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to chat with you today. So I'm Berlyn. I'm in Costa Mesa, California, and I own the plant and marketing and the greenhouse. So plant and marketing, I launched 5 years ago and is a full service agency for purpose-driven brands. And we specialize in content marketing and community building and just kind of humanizing your brand, especially in like AI times. Um,
Yeah.
And then I launched the greenhouse this January, and it's a marketing educational hub and community for solopreneurs, people who are DIYing everything, feeling very
Oh, nice.
overwhelmed and victimized by the internet advice. So this is a place to
Oh,
come and like get support.
that that resonates. I mean, if yeah, the lifeline of the internet and social media, saying being victimized is so accurate. And I absolutely love the name of your agency. I have to ask, are you like a fan of gardening or how did that come about? Because I love gardening. Like you should see my
Oh.
tomatoes.
Oh, fun. I would love to see them. I like gardening. Yeah, I live in an apartment, so I don't have a full
Mm.
garden. Not great at them either. The plants I do have, they're barely hanging on if they are hanging on. But I chose the name because I was working with small businesses at the time, um,
Mm.
starting everything from scratch. And so, you're planting something. Then I just stuck with
Yeah.
it with the greenhouse, and that's just my identity now, I guess.
Yeah, I love that so much. That's really, really cool. As we do our best to help, I deal specifically with women and women entrepreneurs, women small business owners who are, 50 and older, just like me. And I find that there's a lot of disbelief, or not maybe not disbelief, but I find that there's a lot of they're challenged with tech, they're challenged with social, they're losing their confidence, they're losing their chutzpah, for lack of a better term. And I just would love to get your opinion on or your take on what's one belief about marketing or tech that maybe you had to unlearn as you have grown into this role of agency owner now. We've, like you touched on before, like some of us actually feel victimized by the things that we've had to deal with over the years. And so I'd love to help some of the women that will be watching and listening to this kind of unlearn. So,
Mhm.
what would be something you would suggest there?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's something that I hear all the time too. Like I love to talk about TikTok and everybody's like, "Oh, I don't belong there." But that is absolutely a huge myth. Literally
Hmm.
every single person, every type of person is on TikTok, and it's not um there's kind of like this image of what it used to be in everybody's minds, but really
Yeah.
it's this really powerful educational platform. It's not just like dancing and stuff. Actually, I don't even see people do that anymore, so that's fun. But rephrase it as more of like an educational platform and a really great community space. I see significantly more engagement on that than I do,
Mm-hmm.
particularly on Instagram. That's been really challenging lately. So I think that makes it a great like brand awareness platform to like go build up your brand, create content, and then use like Instagram or something to nurture that audience more. But it's really
Yeah.
great for that. And what I would also add is that we really overcomplicate marketing, and I think just maybe we could like that will be more of what we talk about, but just like really simplifying it and yeah, it doesn't have to be that complicated. There's a lot of very simple ways to be efficient and make it work for you.
I totally agree. And I love what you said. A lot of people have these preconceived notions of, like you said, TikTok or even Pinterest or Instagram, like all of them were, yeah, it's wise to just be like super open-minded as to what is possible because truly anything is possible. And I mean, for the record, I am such a huge fan of TikTok, and I personally am feeling challenged with it only because I just want to have fun there. So
Mhm.
I've not been using it at all to promote my business, and maybe
Mhm.
I need to rethink that. And I mean, why can't I do both? Have fun and promote my business? I
Yeah,
guess we'll
yeah.
have to wait and see. Like right now, I've been doing I have been dancing on video. And yeah, I'm waiting for something really significant to happen. So each day I'm posting, I'm dancing it out until dot dot dot, like this thing happens.
Mhm. Uh-huh.
So, and I mean, hey, I'm 60, so if I can do it at 60, I see
Yeah.
even like much older people than me on there. So it's so fun. That's great advice.
Like the whole retirement home account. Like, hello? There's some-
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Here's a question for you. So, was there ever a moment you almost gave up because you just felt overwhelmed or frustrated or that kind of thing? And tell us that story
Mm.
if there is one.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say definitely. There's been a lot of times that are really difficult, but I think what keeps me going and like what most people feel when they kind of get to that point is that they know that this is their true calling. And so I've worked with a lot of small businesses over the years, and I can tell when some are going to work out and some are not going to work out because there's like more of a passion and it's just like, this is my option A, B, C through Z. Like there is no other option for me. And so
Yeah.
that's what I always like to think about is like, okay, this is not great right now. Things aren't really working out, but I know that like this is it for me and that there's this passion here. I'm meant to be doing something with this. So I think like that's really important is just kind of like listening to your inner voice and your gut and just kind of like knowing what your values are when you start a business.
Yeah, totally. I work with a lot of different entrepreneurs and small business owners, everything from like authors to other types of coaches to people who create amazing graphic designs and they do like t-shirts and artwork and that kind of stuff. And it's just, yeah, everybody seems to kind of have or that's been my experience anyways, that they have this threshold of like this just isn't gonna work. But honestly, it's like if you just kept going like 2 more days, something major would happen, or you know what I mean? Like it's like that image of that gold digger who's this close to finding gold and
Mhm.
he walks away. So yeah, I love that we both agree that, knowing your passion, knowing your values, it makes the hard times and the times that feel super challenging, it makes that all worth it.
Mhm. Definitely.
Um, Here's another question for you, Berlin. What is, or how do you stay grounded when the online world feels like too much? And I mean, that's pretty awesome timing for things right now. The world feels like it's falling apart. And, generationally, I'm sure, 500 years ago, people probably felt the same thing, but it feels so, so real. So, how do you stay grounded in your service and in your helping of others?
Mhm. Um, yeah, I think it's really powerful right now to audit your um not just time online, but like the people that you're following and the accounts that you're following. And yeah, right before this, I was just saw the most unhinged Trump video I've ever seen in my life. And I'm like, oh, this is really happening. Okay. Cool. So it's very hard. It's very hard to like see things that are happening and then come on and be like, work with me, post on Instagram, it's
Yeah.
very like the contrast is insane. But I think it's really valuable to create safe spaces for yourself on the internet. Like I'm very intentional with who I follow, on Instagram. And when I'm using platforms like TikTok, where it's more like, I'm using the For You page for things,
Hmm.
I don't know, just being more aware of like where you're at in your day. So like maybe watching Trump TikTok videos before, in the middle of my day is not the best for my mindset. So just being
Yeah.
intentional and like creating safe spaces for yourself, but building like intentional followers and following on your socials is really valuable too.
That is such excellent advice. I appreciate that you said that, like just auditing who you're following because, from social media practices from even 5 years ago, things are so dramatically different at this
Mhm.
point, and it matters. It just makes such a difference yeah, like you said, who you follow and be super intentional about it. That is awesome advice. So, what is one simple strategy that you could share with, let's say, a 55-year-old woman who she's starting a dog walking business, local to her, location, obviously. What simple strategy would you suggest to her to help her show up more confidently online?
Mm. That's actually a wild example because on like a Facebook group I'm in, somebody literally asked the same thing, like, my
Oh,
mom's starting a dog walking company. What do
oh,
I do?
I read your mind.
So I am so prepared. But yeah, to show up more confidently, I think that's a really great question. So just run, like in general, being so proud of like what you do and the work that you do and knowing that you provide great results and just that really helps obviously show up confidently online. I also like to ease people into showing up online. So if you're already pretty hesitant about it, maybe the posts initially don't include you. Maybe you're not talking on camera if that's not something you're comfortable with. And easing into that as well. So like I recommend people starting on their stories first. So those are very like low, no production, they go away in just a few hours. So there's no like you don't have to worry about it being out there forever. So just like show up on your
Hmm.
stories and get used to talking on camera. And then slowly move into like static posts and then reels. I still feel like video content on your Instagram is going to always be the best. Especially in that specific example when people are working one-on-one with you, they really want to know like who they're working with. So if you're like a
Hmm.
service provider in that setting, it's always great to like show up. So yeah, just take it slow and remind yourself that it's a process just to do that part before you like start worrying about Instagram working for you.
Exactly. That's such great advice. I love that so much. Are you, what do you recommend to your clients in terms of prioritizing platforms? I know my answer, but I'd love to hear what you have to say.
Oh, I would love to hear what you have to say. Um, I mean,
It's
really,
probably the same thing.
yeah. I would say it depends on their industry, obviously, and like where their audience is, even though I feel like things are pretty gray everywhere, like you're gonna reach your audience everywhere. Um, I think that could just go back to like the types of content that you like to create and just whatever you can be consistent with. So
Hmm.
if you like to just create posts and like write stuff, maybe start with Instagram if you're comfortable with doing videos. I think TikTok is really great. But yeah, I would say like what can you be consistent with and where does your audience like to live? What about you?
Yeah.
What would you say?
Yeah, pretty much the same thing. It's very audience centric for me.
Hmm.
So, I mean, the majority of women that again that I work with, 50 plus, they do spend quite a bit of time on Facebook. They do like Instagram, but again, they get frustrated when they don't see results right away. So,
Hmm.
your advice of easing into it is really great. I appreciate that. Here's a great question. What's something that you tried that flopped, and what did you learn from it?
I mean, personally, everything and is not working out for me. Um,
Girl, I got you. I'm the same.
right, right. Like it's so hard to do our own marketing. Um,
Hmm.
no, what I
Oh,
would say flopped, that's a really interesting question. Um, what I would tie that back to is like the things that I'm just not good at, and that is like selling. So I'm marketing and sales are very different. I am not a
Yeah.
salesperson. I hate being sold to. So when it comes to running your own business, that's like where it gets tricky. And like that's where
Hmm.
I'm working on right now is like stepping out of my comfort zone to figure that out.
Yeah.
A lot of people talk about like DM strategies to sell things and like that's I don't know. I just hate being that salesperson. So that flops for me a lot.
Yeah. No, I am exactly the same and feel and I've been doing this for nearly 15 years. So it's been a struggle for sure. I don't like selling. I
Hmm.
love building community though, and more often than not, when we do build community around just who we are, that often can turn into the best sales funnel of all because they just become raving fans. They tell their friends and that kind of
Hmm.
thing. So, yeah, we're being told to sell, and of course, as business owners, we want to sell, we need to sell, but I feel like and again for I'm thinking mostly of the women, the type of women that I work with. You know, they also don't really love selling either and so just telling them to kind of take it easy on themselves, which is why I really work so hard in my coaching and my I keep saying my upcoming course. I've yet to make it. I've been talking about it for, oh, I don't know, 3 years. Um,
It's upcoming.
it is upcoming, but the mindset is just so foundationally important. So no one is perfect. Everyone starts at the beginning, right? And that's kind of, I don't know, it's just refreshing and feels good to know if we can keep our mindset on that and keep our strategies based on growth is slow. Like there's no overnight success. There never really has been. People just like to make it look like that's the case, but it's
Mhm.
not at all true.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
I think that's really important to like talk about is that yeah, definitely nobody's doing things overnight. And if it appears that way, who knows like what kind of team they have behind them, what kind of money and budget and ad spend they
yeah,
have, or even just like what business number are they on? Is this their fifth business where they've already built up like a huge personal audience? So getting them to
exactly.
transfer is easy. And yeah, so definitely don't compare yourself to what you're seeing.
Well, and you touched on AI earlier as well, like all the things that are possible right now with AI in terms of graphics and videos and that kind of thing. Like, I feel like we need to be more confident and more, I guess, proud of ourselves than ever so that we will kind of rise above that AI noise. I know, like I'm personally a fan and I do use it for my business in a lot of different ways, but it can never replace the experiences that you've had and the actual like human emotion that you put out into the world. So, yeah, I really hope that the women watching this or listening to this today will feel encouraged that AI is never going to replace them.
Mhm.
It's not going to happen. Some kind of robot may bring you your dinner one day at a restaurant or even in your home. But yeah, and I mean, that's happening already. But what advice would you give to someone, let's say a 50-year-old who's just starting over? Actually, you know what? I'm going to interject here because, I already told you how old I am. And this year, and it's actually kind of a reason why I relaunched my podcast is because I have had to start over. I had a life event occur in February that I did not see coming. And I mean, it was a massive event and I just had to start from scratch. And my gosh, it's hard. But if you have support around you and if you have resources like great podcast episodes, like friends, like colleagues, like family, whatever it is, like starting over with the right mindset, of course, can be so incredibly refreshing and exciting. And it doesn't matter how old you are. So that's just a bit of my story. But what kind of advice would you give to someone who came to you and said, "Oh my gosh, I have to start over. Like, what should I do, Berlin?"
Mhm. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, it's always really tricky to be in these spots but just know that like, okay, this means something really good is coming. There's a purpose for all of
Hmm.
this. I have worked with a lot of people who have come to me and they're like, this is what I want to do. Now what do I do with it? And
Hmm.
so when people are in that situation, I always start with like, what are your values? Why are you really doing this? What do you want to come from this? And just really understanding your why and like what you want to bring to people from doing that and specifically who those people are. So just being not everything or really nothing is about like making money. So it's not like I want to sell this so I can be a billionaire. But
Yeah.
like why do you want to sell? Why do you want to sell that thing? Why are you driven to this? Who do you want to speak to? So there's a lot of like personal work, unfortunately, that comes with owning a business. It's like the biggest
Uh-huh.
personal self-development journey you'll go on. And I think you have to be,
100%.
yeah, ready for that.
Doesn't really, yeah, and it never really ends. Like I said, I've been
Yeah.
in business nearly 15 years now, and there are still times when I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go work at a gas station, like, or like something that's a lot
Mhm.
less just challenging, but
Mhm.
it's so worth it. Like when you put in the effort and make something happen, build something that's yours, like, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, it's so fulfilling. And especially when you're passionate about something, it's so worthwhile. Okay, here's something I'd love for you to finish this sentence. You don't need to go viral. You need to fill in the blank.
Connect. Yeah.
Exactly. How would you go about doing that? What would you tell one of your clients on how to connect?
Yeah. So basically everything I just said, like why are you doing
Hmm.
this, who you're speaking to, what's the purpose and all of that good stuff. Yeah. So after you have like your solid branding and like understand your foundations, then just using that to be as authentic as possible online. We are all really looking for connections and we're all
Hmm.
really looking for brands or services to support that align with us. So like that's why it's really important to know all of those things. So that way when you create content, you are speaking to the people who are most aligned with you and are looking for exactly what you do.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. What would you say is kind of like more important, making the contact or sorry, making the content or spending the time connecting? Because they're both like super important.
Yeah.
And you can burn out on both.
You most certainly can burn out on both.
Yeah.
Um, Making the content or connecting. It's definitely a mix. I mean, I create content with the intention of creating engagement. So like I want in your content like call out create a conversation, ask a question, ask people like if you try it, let me know. So like everything that you're doing is kind of working on both ends. So you're
Hmm.
getting the conversation started and yeah, that's the goal.
Yeah. Great advice. I love it. All right. Well, we've come to the end of our questions today, and I'm just going to hit you with some lightning round questions. I appreciate you being open to that because not everybody is.
Oh.
And I mean, these are no big deal, but so coffee or tea while you plan your content.
Coffee.
What's your main coffee order?
Well, I drink coffee at home and it's like half coffee, half creamer.
Oh, so you're kind of a latte, kind of sorta.
Yeah, just a sugar person, I guess.
Yeah. What's one word that describes how you feel when you hit post on something vulnerable?
Ooh, um, excited.
That's so good. I was hoping you weren't gonna say terrified. Because sometimes I do,
Mm-hmm.
when you talk about the real personal stuff, which is necessary in specific, like in certain doses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sometimes it can be scary. But
Mm-hmm.
in my experience, oh my stars, the engagement is so incredible when you do share yourself. Like it's absolutely unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, last question. What's your favorite tool or app that you can't live without?
I always say in my next lifetime, or if I quit my career, I'm going to be an Airtable influencer.
Ah,
I just love Airtable.
that's awesome. I have looked at it once and went, okay,
Oh
no, I can't.
no.
So, and maybe that's a mindset thing for me that I need to overcome.
I would say it is. Yeah, you're
I
missing
mean,
out.
I hear nothing but good things about it, so maybe I'll have to rethink that one.
Interesting. Yeah.
Well, Berlin, thank you so much for spending some time with me today and my audience. I really appreciate it. Why don't you tell everyone where they can reach you and maybe you have something to offer today.
Yeah. Thank you. So I am on every social platform. I'm not making it easy for myself out there, but you can find me Planted Marketing on everything. Plantedmarketing.com. You'll find more of my services. I also have tons of small business resources like a free Airtable template if you need some help getting started.
Hmm.
You can learn more about the greenhouse there, which is the marketing hub and educational community for solopreneurs. So if you're feeling nervous about anything that we talked about, that's a good place to come and learn and get support through that. And yeah, that's normally a $59 a month membership, but for a podcast, I love to offer people an $11 membership. So use podcast
Ooh,
at checkout, and I hope to see you there.
that is so great. Thank you so much, Berlin. I can't wait for everybody to see this episode and hear these great tips from you. So that's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Thank you so much.